We sure got a movie today.
Do
It's
we?
yeah, I think you're right, but
Hi, this is televised, the TV
oh,
movie story, the
I
podcast
I
where
was
we
gonna
talk about movies. I figured we can just get into it because,
I was
I
gonna
mean,
fuck around a little bit longer
oh
in the
yeah, we can do that
space.
then.
It was
We
like I
can
was
fi- we
gonna
can we can play in the space.
I was gonna be like like this is how I think J like the real reason JFK died, and it was gonna be just something fucking stupid. Like JFK organized the hit himself, but he was trying to get his wife killed so he could be with Marilyn Monroe instead.
I
And that
like actually I don't remember what spurred this on, but this was some like alternate universe like speculative rabbit hole I went down a while back of like what if Jackie had been killed and not John, and like what the fallout of that like alternate spiral universe is like. And I feel like I don't know if that's been explored before in fiction, but I think that could make for an interesting like man in the high castle like alternate
yeah,
history type speculative fiction story.
yeah, that would be
uh
like I wonder how much that would even have an effect because of
I
course
mean, a
like
lot. We
it
have
it, it
we
would certainly have
Kennedy
effect,
would have stayed president and certainly like
but it yeah,
retaliated.
yeah.
Like it, who knows? Who knows? But
Retaliated against whom? Ooh.
that's the thing. Is who knows? Who knows if there was a grander conspiracy at large, if that would have been uncovered, or if he would have been silenced,
JFK
or
shoots Lee Harvey instead of Jack Ruby.
there you go.
We would be watching a TV movie called Kennedy and Oswald.
Which I'm sure also exists out there. But I imagine at this point we are in the podcast now, right?
Yeah, like that.
Yes.
Like I'm going to edit it so that the intro you had is going to be our intro, or like just the very start of the recording is going to be just the
Okay.
whole podcast.
Perfect. Very meta. Very inside baseball for the tens of people listening.
But
Uh,
I mean, that's just how it always goes. Like we
that's how it
always talk
goes.
very upfront about the kayfabe or whatever.
Televised, the TV movie story. This week we're talking about Ruby and Oswald as part of our ostensibly Brian Dennehy month, although
This one
not
has the
really this
least
time.
Dennehy yet.
Yeah, like not even a minute of screen time. And I'm only kind of positive I know which person in this movie is Brian Dennehy. I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah,
So,
because he's very young. It's like it
yes,
he's unrecognizable.
he's not cast here for being Brian Dennehy. He's a glorified extra. It's a bit part. He has two lines, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. But
Happy break, bro, everyone.
happy Brian Dennehy Prohl. Ruby and Oswald, 1978, directed by Mel Stewart, written by John and Michael McGreevy, a father and son duo here. It stars Michael Lerner, Fredric Forrest, Lou Frizzle, Doris Roberts, Lana Saunders, Bruce French, Sandy McPeak, Sandy Ward, Brian Dennehy, Michael Pataki, Richard Sanders, Gordon Jump, and Gwyn Guilford. Although it's mostly just Lerner and Forrest, really. Those
Yeah.
are just all the names on Wikipedia that have a hyperlink. It broadcast on February 8th, 1978 on CBS. On ABC, you had an episode of Eight is Enough, an episode of Charlie's Angels, and an episode of Starsky and Hutch. On NBC, you had an episode of Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, and then a few hours where there just wasn't something, and then an episode of Policewoman. So that's your alternate viewing options if you're watching TV on that February 8th. Uh, Probably better options than this,
Probably.
which is
Uh,
not a bad movie. I feel like we should say up front this is a fine, competently made, very dry historical fiction
yeah.
speculative thing.
It I
Not
mean,
even speculative fiction, just like
it,
it says it's every scene has been drawn from sworn testimony, but like it's pretty dramatized.
yeah. Like when I first like went to go watch this and I looked up the letterbox page and found it on YouTube, it's like every single review and every single YouTube comment was pretty much just saying it's like, oh, this movie was written by the Warren Commission. And it's just like just because of course the only people who would watch this fucking movie outside of us are just a bunch of, JFK conspiracy theorists. Just
Yeah.
dive into every single piece of media.
Yeah, it was fun looking through the YouTube comments and just seeing all these people come together of like, oh wow, this movie really, gets Jack Ruby wrong. Everybody knows that Jack Ruby really didn't like JFK that much and like talked all the time about how much he hated him and like it's two far extremes of the perception of Ruby's thoughts about Kennedy because this movie goes very far in the opposite direction of that.
Mhm.
But
Like literally every fucking scene it feels like is just Michael Lerner saying it's like, how dare somebody be mean to JFK?
yeah, the scene where he kicks the guy out of his club. Nobody insults the president and his wife in my club. Nobody. Just like there's some very simplistic like views of Jack Ruby's motivation here in ways that mostly are kind of corny. Although I do really like the ending to this movie. For all its like very slow methodical pace, I think everything post Ruby killing Oswald is actually pretty interesting and
Mhm.
takes a perspective that I kind of wasn't expecting it to go down, but we'll talk about that. Uh yeah. I mean, there's really not much to talk about with this movie,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Like we covered what all the Jack Ruby scenes are like, which is basically just him talking about how much he loves JFK. And
Well,
then
not all of them, because
uh,
some of the scenes are about his twist board exercise board.
yeah, and
This little
we get a scene of him in the fucking club with his terrible comedy routine.
yeah. But yeah, it does very much boil down to like the first maybe 20 minutes of the movie are him just talking about how much he loves Kennedy. Nobody's allowed to be mean to Kennedy. Gets very hung up on this newspaper article that's been taken out that like seems to be maybe passive aggressive about Kennedy's visiting Texas. And then he gets like very hung up on the credited author of it is like a Bernard Wiseman,
Yeah.
and there's no Bernard Wiseman in the phone book, so clearly somebody took out this ad and used a fake name to make Jewish people look bad. And that like ends up being his motivation for killing Oswald is he says something like, I just wanted to prove that Jews are tough.
Mhm.
Uh, but like I don't know how much of that is again drawn from sworn testimony. Uh, Ultimately, I realized watching this, I don't know shit about Jack Ruby,
Yeah, like I just know he's a nightclub owner who shot Lee Harvey Oswald, and that's
and
it.
and he wore a hat. That's like one of the like if you were to ask me before this, tell me three things about Jack Ruby, I'd go like he shot Oswald, owned a nightclub, wore a hat while he did it. Those are my three like things of note about Jack Ruby. But this movie doesn't really tell you much more about him.
Hmm.
Like I was looking through the Wikipedia page and like he was like, you know, he had his own criminal record, a lot of which the movie kind of gets into with the girl that he pushed down the stairs that there's a couple
Yeah.
references to at the beginning, but like, he had his own rap sheet leading up to things. He was you know, your middle school history classes paint things very black and white. And like Oswald was a villain and Ruby was a hero for killing him. I know that that's not how his, but like it feels like that is the simplistic historical view that sort of gets ingrained in some more blindly following American opinions. But
Hmm.
yeah, an interesting figure that I think a more interested movie could have gotten more into.
And in some of my research, I found out that there is a movie about Jack Ruby that came out like 3 months after the Oliver Stone's JFK movie.
Ooh,
Uh, Let me look that up real quick. I want to figure out.
yeah, this movie really made me want to go back and rewatch JFK.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, it stars Danny Aiello as Jack
ooh,
Ruby, and Sherilyn Fenn is somebody else. Yep, just some person named Candy Cane.
well, there you go.
As Tobin Bell apparently as well.
Ooh, ooh. Anyone else?
David Duchovny as JD
Wow,
Tippett. Uh,
you're selling me on this. Is it what's it called?
it's just called Ruby,
Ruby,
1992.
1991. Oh, 92. Okay. Yeah. Fascinating. Who else? Anybody?
Yeah, no,
Arliss Howard is somebody I recognize. Yeah, that's Willie Garson from Sex and the City plays Lee Harvey Oswald.
yep.
Okay, sure. Fascinating. I might have to check this out. We might have to do some kind of bonus episode on this or something.
Hey, but this is a real movie. It's not a TV movie.
That's what would make it a bonus episode.
True.
Uh, no, fascinating. Sounds just like looking through briefly that Wikipedia page, more interesting than Ruby and Oswald. Which is it's just so dry, unfortunately. Because I was going into this with an open mind of like, this could make for an interesting like parallel story of these two men dealing with the aftermath. It takes a while for Kennedy to get shot in this movie.
Yeah, it's
It's
like 30
like,
minutes.
yeah, it is, which I thought,
It's
could
a
have
good
been
choice.
it could have been interesting to like on its face, that is an interesting choice to follow both of them in the lead up to and then immediate aftermath of that moment. But like, there's really just not a lot of like that happens. There's not a whole lot interesting
Yeah.
in this movie, which
And
I will also say, I'm surprised how much this movie gives a sympathetic lens to Oswald.
yeah, like
Like,
first of all, Fredric Forrest is the best part of this movie.
oh yeah, I mean, they're both well cast. I think Lerner, with a better script, would make a very interesting Jack Ruby. But Frederick Forrest is so fucking good here.
Hmm. And like this is the year before he got his Oscar nomination for The Rose and stuff. It's like this is right before he became like
Apocalypse Now in the same
yeah.
year as that. Like, yeah,
And
he's not that he's slumming it here. This is not a podcast that considers making TV movies slumming it, obviously. But
like
like,
it's before he became like a actual like big name or anything. Well,
yes,
maybe he
yeah.
was never really a big name, but more well known.
Yeah, more taken seriously. I mean, and like this is a good part for him. This is, you can see what draws him to it beyond the fact that he like is kind of an uncanny dead ringer for
Yeah.
Harvey Oswald, uh, which is like kind of unsettling at times when you see like the photos of Oswald with the guns and like some of the real footage that's interspersed here. Like he really does look like the real guy.
Hmm.
Uh, no, I like the scene where he is getting arrested in the movie theater, and the whole like, oh, I'm not resisting arrest. I'm not resist. This is police brutality. I want to make it known that I'm not resisting arrest here. Like he really does not play him as the like snarling villain that you would maybe expect a
Yeah.
like even kind of the way Gary Oldman plays him in JFK. Like
Mhm.
which is a good performance, but is still like, I mean, nothing in Oliver Stone's JFK is particularly subtle.
It
Uh,
God, I do not like that movie.
yeah, that does not seem like an Eliza kind of movie.
I
But
I'm not going to read into whatever that means,
no,
but just keep going.
I meant that as a positive. I meant that affectionately. Just like I from what I know about the kinds of movies you do and do not like, I feel like I could have probably guessed that JFK was not your style. Because that's also a movie that like I only kind of liked my first time around anyway. I'm not out here like singing its praises as a masterpiece, but I do really want to revisit it just to like see what's going on there.
Mhm.
But yeah, what else here?
Um, I do like how most of Lee Harvey Oswald scenes is just like, I didn't shoot JFK. I need a lawyer, and I'm gonna reveal information to you later.
Yeah, it's which like gets into some of his like activism backgrounds and his you know, it paints a picture of Oswald as a more complicated figure than history has let him be, with some of those like very, it's like almost its own form of like, I don't even know. It's just like the way he handles every question very methodically and very like, not implicating himself on anything is fun to watch
Hmm.
in its own little way.
Yeah, I kind of wish this whole thing were actually just like a 90-minute single room Fredric Forrest and the cops. Like
Yeah.
I get actually I know there is a movie also like a TV movie called The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm curious if that's anything like that. And
Yeah,
it's based
that
on like a play too.
which is like isn't the premise because that like came out right before this
Yeah,
one.
it
And I
was like
think the premise is that if Ruby hadn't killed him, what that like trial would have gone down like.
uh
Uh
two-part TV movie. Um I'm just
Yeah,
scanning through
while
this
you're
trying to
looking that
find
up, I'm looking through my notes. I don't have many, but one that I did want to mention is that the YouTube upload that I watched of this movie describes it as dramatic, excellent JFK assassination movie. And I just like the idea of referring to it as both dramatic and excellent in the lead up to describing what kind of movie it is. I thought that was fun. Um, other note, yeah, there's a whole scene where Jack Ruby just starts crying in his car, which is very silly. Did you know Lee Harvey Oswald's widow is still alive?
Oh,
Yeah, she's
I
like 83.
good for her, I guess.
Yeah, good for her.
Well,
Um,
I mean, she probably hasn't had the best life, but still.
yeah,
Well,
but
actually,
I
there's
think
also there's
she.
another TV
Oh,
movie. I think it's called Fatal. I don't want to say Fatal Instinct. I don't think that's right, but the life of Mrs. Lee Harvey Oswald. It stars Helena Bonham Carter as Marina Oswald.
fascinating. Um, have you found the
Yeah.
other one? Yeah.
Th This is it's not an alternate fiction type thing. It's just it's just the time after the JFK assassination
Ah,
and up until when he gets shot.
maybe that was something else I was thinking about then.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like we're kind of running out of things to talk about for this movie already, so I have something else I want to
I'll
drop in for you.
I'll I'll just say that my only note was perhaps the only movie that makes me wish I was watching JFK instead.
Well, there you go.
Like this is just a very dry, boring movie that is like when what I mentioned before about people like saying like it was written by the Warren Commission. They meant it as like, oh, it doesn't do like go against the established facts, it doesn't entertain like other theories. What it really means is like this feels like it was written by a congressman. And
Yeah.
it was just it was so lacking in entertainment in terms of just like the direction, the writing of it. It's like the
Yeah.
only thing I can grab onto for something to be interested in are these two main performances. And even then, most of the movie, I wasn't that engaged with Michael Lerner. But it wasn't until actually the very end that we talked about briefly that like I actually was like, oh wow, he's actually getting a good moment in this.
Yeah, where he's sitting there in a daze being like interrogated by all the other cops and he like doesn't really remember doing it and then I was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't see what I did wrong. I was doing it for the good of the country. I was doing it for Jackie and the kids and all this stuff."
Yeah.
And it like I don't know. It hits a note that I was not expecting based on the previous hour and 40 minutes of the movie being so just sort of like matter of fact about things.
Also, it's crazy that Mel Stewart directed this. Like
I don't
how
know
do
who
you
that
go
is.
he directed Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like how do you go from that to this? He also did If It's Tuesday, This Must Be Belgium, which is not a well-known movie, but I like it a lot. And by like it a
Directed
lot,
a
I gave it 3 stars, but it sticks in my mind for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's got a few TV movies on this list. Something called Brenda Starr, something called The Triangle Factory Fire Scandal,
Oh, hell yeah.
Sophia Loren, Her Own Story, where she plays herself and her mother. Uh, yeah.
Base.
Also, at least some episodes of Welcome Back, Kotter. It
Oh,
doesn't say how many. It just credits him as director on his Wikipedia page
how
as
is
part of his selected filmography.
how is Triangle Factory Fire Scandal not in our list yet? That
Is
is
it
some
not? Oh wow.
that needs to be in there. I I would love to watch a TV movie about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I to get to something to fill out some time here, I sent you on Twitter
Oh,
a digitized version of a 1978 newspaper uh, article about this TV movie that I want to read out here. Or maybe we can popcorn read paragraph
yeah.
by paragraph because the digitization was done very poorly and there's a lot of typos. And I want to read it with the typos
Okay.
because I didn't read the whole thing earlier. I just read a few paragraphs, noticed all the typos, and was like, we got to do this. So
Okay.
I'll start off with this first paragraph and we'll go one at a time.
Okay.
So a key before we get started. If I take a pause mid-word or mid-sentence, weirdly, it's because there's a poorly placed comma. If I accentuate the beginning of a word, it's because there's a misplaced capitalization. Other weird stuff I'll just read out as it exists. So to Elevision is apostrophe again, venturing into the ultra-sensitive formal of the docudrama with still another dramatization based on the assassination of President Kennedy.
The last effort carried on ABC was the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald, which pretended that Jack Ruby never killed Oswald.
By the way,
Then
stepping in here, Oswald has an end quotation mark that is not started earlier.
oh, I didn't even notice that. Then it dash attempted to have public trial established that Oswald did not dash act alone, but was probably a dupe of other more powerful conspirators. Mixing facts casually with rumor and speculation, the production was widely criticized for, its irresponsible methods.
Tonight at 8:30, CBS wilt devote nearly 3 hours to Ruby and Oswald, an Alan Landsberg production. Paul Freeman was the producer. The program was directed by Mel Stewart and written in a father and son collaboration by John and Michael McGreevy.
Given that the assassination scenario is still being argued in certain quarters, skeptics might wonder about the motives of any dramatizations at this time. Perhaps they could reasonably conclude the networks are interested in little dash more than in one quote exploiting an event that remains emotionally supercharged in the nation's.
Psyche dot apostrophe dot dash colon bullet new paragraph for just a bullet. CBS has been extremely,
What happened there?
I don't know. CBS has been extremely cautious about this production. One network executive even proclaimed that the script was being submitted to the scrutiny of CBS News for checks on accuracy. Spokesman for the news division later denied any such involvement in the project. Nevertheless, Ruby and Oswald sticks unusually close to verifiable facts.
I assume it's about Glenn Close.
Yes, exactly.
Um, with the narrator explaining that every scene is drawn. Sorry, I laughed too easily. From sworn testimony, the McGreevy script concentrates on incidents, nearly always sidestepping interpretation.
You have to say that scenes, which is capital SEENE capital S.
I can't speak. It's just too funny to me. Yeah, scenes are la belled with exact information about time and place. And despite the two names in the title, the script is really about one man, Ruby. Bullet point is through Ruby and his conviction that Oswald was dot or period a smirking little weasel acting alone, that this version of those November 1963 events unfolds.
Here's where it gets wild. The character of Oswald presented with calculated sketchiness. I.E. Tupulras, a package supposedly containing cum% fein rods to the Texas Sumo apostrophe book depository. We never re who fires the rifle, but the circumstantial evidence for against Dash Oswald is massive. He is seen killing, Officer James D. Tippis and being arrested in a movie apostrophe theater. The apostrophe rest is interrogation, denials, and contradictory stories. Possible ties with Cuban groups are mentioned, but not Exolored with a capital O. Exolored.
I moved my microphone so far away to me to try and make it so my laughing wasn't as loud.
It gets so wild. It's really just like,
I'm not sure I can survive this.
do you want me to read the rest? There's
Please,
only.
please do. I
Okay.
can't handle it.
Ruby, on the other hand, is followed with detailed care. His grief over the death of our beloved president is seen escalating into a psychopathic preoccupation with everything he has resented in life. He suddenly detects familial similarities between them. The Kennetly, Kennetlye, and the Rubensteins, his Nell Tamily name, everybody runs out on him. He decides, adding, semicolon, you underscore have to fight to be recognized term still, just apostrophe, a stupid Jew froin the ghetto. Quotation mark two. The M6 Greavies, capital S, interviewed several members, dash colon, of Ruby's dot Fenelly, colon, and, comma, much of their material, comma, underscore, especially scenes with his sister, comma, comma, carries the colon stamp of accuracy. Everything leads dash quitte logically to this obsessed character's bizarre shoot dash dot ing apostrophe of Oswald on national television. Moments apostrophe colon later, comma, he doesn't remember doing dash it. Colon, I did it for WS. Kennedy, quotation mark, he says, quotation mark, I did dot comma it for everybody. I did it to show that Jews have gut apostrophe S, quotation mark, start apostrophe. The comma production uses new film footage covering dash President Kennedy's trip to Texas, the Dallas Motorcad, and bullet, the dash aftermath of the assassination. But all of these actualities are kept apostrophe in the form of black and white television reports. The dramatized portions are entirely in colder. There is no unnecessary and objectionable blurring of fact and dramatization. The docudrama is always forced into the burdensome role of a moving waxworks. Attention dash is lavished on the comma spell Y,
Vespali.
Vespali, uh, uh, apostrophe, accurate reconstructions of scenes. Actors are chosen on the basis how closely they may resemble the major figures, and their performances are usually kept within the narrow confines of imitation. There is little room for fresh creativity. But Ruby and Oswald manages to provide a apostrophe number of splendidly etched performances, most notably from Michael Leather as Ruby, Fredric Forrest as Oswald, Doris Roberts as Ruby's sister, apostrophe, and in apostrophe a smaller role, Eric Kilpatrick as and Y Cone, and D Cone of Ruby's employees. Ruby and Oswald probably comes as close to even-handed acceptability as a docudrama can get.
At least I nailed that last sentence.
Yeah, this we have to put this in the show notes. I feel like this
Yeah,
has to be
I
read.
gotta
Like, read along with us. I probably should have said this before we started so that people can read along as we read that aloud. But oh boy, I just love that. I love really bad scans that do not get fact checked or like spell checked because there's some really wild stuff in there.
hmm
I
Like
love it.
I so I've been recently watching a lot of Big Brother on Paramount Plus, and the subtitles for it, like I don't think anybody has looked at them once before.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
even things as simple as character names just get misread as just like the most random words, and it's a mess to look at. Um,
Yeah. You cannot trust automatically generated closed captions for anything. But the fact that this was a scanned New York Times article that I imagine didn't have those typos, although I don't know, is just it was so much more enjoyable reading through that than watching this movie, which is
abs-
not bad. This is like a solid 2.5 star movie, which, is it's
That's
not the
not very
worst.
good.
It's certainly not the worst we've done.
True.
It's
That much
probably
is
not bottom five even.
uh
Maybe. I don't know.
let me think
I don't
about it.
know.
Let me look
I
at what I've
actually
done.
don't know if I stand by that. But it's
Uh
competently made, it's competently acted. It functions as a movie. It's just, it's the kind of movie that you would watch in a history class and come away from it like, well, at least I didn't have to, take notes today. At least I got to sit in a dark room and watch a movie I didn't care about.
at least I get to sleep.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, I just went to my ranking of it. First of all, this is our 15th episode. Congrats to us.
There you go.
And secondly, uh, for April or Brian Dennehy April, for me personally, all three of the movies so far are in the bottom five.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably put this bottom six. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
compare our lists at some point, but like there's at least more here than say Big Dreams and Broken Hearts or Net Force or what have you.
Anyway, God, I feel like I had something to say before we went into that, but now it's just like I can't think of anything about anything anymore. That article was too good.
Too
Um,
good. Yeah. I mean, at my looking at my
oh,
notes,
I do have a thing, but you go ahead, finish your thoughts.
no, what I was saying was looking at my notes, the only thing I have that we haven't really touched on is uh at the end of the movie, as it was closing, I was like, wait, Brian Dennehy was supposed to be in this. And I spent maybe a good 20 minutes scrubbing through the movie trying to find his one scene because I knew it was in here and I knew what it looked like because when I was setting up the profile tweet for the beginning of the month, I went through and got a screenshot of him in all five movies. So I knew that I had found it before. And I knew roughly what it looked like because I had that one screenshot, but I could not for the life of me find where in the movie that happened until finally it's the scene where some feds show up at the Oswald house and they bring a translator to ask Oswald's wife where he keeps his rifle. And Dennehy is the main fed in that scene. And that's it, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, when I saw that scene and it's like I recognized it from the picture posted, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme.
There you go. It's Brian Dennehy from Brian Dennehy month.
Exactly, from April. Um, but I do have one more thing. And this was originally going to be a game, but it was originally going to be I'll explain it later, but I decided against making a game because I didn't really have a good idea for a game. And so I thought I would just share these facts without the contextualization of a game. And so I looked through the Wikipedia list of cultural depictions of Lee Harvey Oswald, and I found the funny ones.
Well, there you
And
go.
there are a lot of things that involve people going back in time to stop the JFK assassination, and things happen.
Love
The,
that.
the most famous one, of course, is the Stephen King 11/22/63.
Yeah.
Um, but we also have things like Running Against Time, a TV movie about a college professor who goes back in time to stop not only the JFK assassination, but also the Vietnam War. However, he ends up implicating himself in the assassination and also makes Lyndon Johnson want to fight even harder in Vietnam.
Oh
Uh,
no.
it is also a ripoff of Back to the Future.
Sounds like yeah, that sounds pretty close to the plot of Back to the Future.
Uh, I did not mention the very clear Doc Brown character, which they both use his time machine to go back in time and then also meet him in the past to get help because they get stuck in the past, of
That's how it
course.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone of note in that cast?
I did not check, or I did look. I
Let
don't
me
remember
let me
anybody
look.
notable. Yeah. Running
Running
Against
Against
Time.
Time, you said. Okay. Um, I'm not seeing anyone super notable so far. Uh, no, not that I recognize necessarily.
Yeah. Although this next one does have notable people in it. It's called Time Quest.
Ooh.
This one has Bruce Campbell in it as a pornographer, and it also has I for Larry Drake, I think his name is the guy who played Bubba in the Scarecrow movie, Dark Knight
Oh,
of the
wow.
Scarecrow. He plays J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, a time traveler goes to November 22nd, 1963, and tells John, Jackie, and Bobby Kennedy about the future, including the Kennedy assassinations, the Vietnam War, and reminding JFK about his sex scandals, and proceeds to hang out with them until the assassination has fully been avoided. The rest of the film then follows an alternate universe where the Kennedys live on and nothing bad ever happens to them.
Sure.
Yeah, I was reading through the plot and it's just like, okay, so it just kind of keeps going. It's not about stopping it. It's just it's kind of what you were saying before, like an alternate universe type thing, except instead of Jackie dying, it's nobody dies, and then everything is okay forever. And it's like reading through the plot, it's like JFK correcting all the mistakes that's ever been made in the government.
Oh, boy.
It's a very strange thing.
And this isn't a TV movie? This is
This had a
ah,
limited theatrical release and then got released straight to video.
fascinating.
Uh, but I guess that's not straight to video if it had a limited theatrical release. But very little money.
It went later to video.
Late, like almost immediately to video after its limited theatrical release.
Yeah, that tracks.
Um, And then we have a couple TV shows. In the 1980s reboot of Twilight Zone, there's an episode called Profile in Silver. Features a time traveler going back to 1963 to stop the assassination, not the assassination of JFK. He accomplishes his goal, but this causes a rip in the fabric of time. And to fix the damage, the time traveler decides to sit in the motorcade for JFK, sacrificing himself, and sends JFK to the far future where he lives out the rest of his life.
Sure. That sounds Twilight Zone-y. That tracks.
Yeah, and I remember correctly, the it ends with him like giving a speech to like some students in like 2167, just thanking the time traveler for his sacrifice.
I
It's
love
weird.
that.
Uh, Quantum Leap has a two-part episode that was I think it was the first episode or episodes of season 5, if I remember correctly. It sees Sam, Scott Bakula, end up in the body of Lee Harvey Oswald and trying his best to stop the assassination of JFK. However, it's revealed at the end that his job is to stop the assassination of Jackie Kennedy and make things align with our real timeline.
Well, hey, there you go. That's like the thing I said.
Kinda, yeah. Except he's
A
like
little bit.
stopping the assassination, so we
Yeah.
never see Jackie die.
Well, there you go.
And then there's The X-Files. An episode of the show confirms that the series antagonist, the Smoking Man, personally carried out not only the JFK assassination, but also the assassination of Martin Luther King, orchestrated the Anita Hill scandal, the Rodney King trial, the Super Bowl losses of the Buffalo Bills, the famous Miracle on Ice, the rise of Saddam Hussein, and the resignation of Mikhail Gorbachev.
Sure.
Very busy guy, apparently.
Sounds like it. All while making sure aliens happen.
Exactly.
I
And
haven't watched the X-Files. I don't
I neither have
I
I.
imagine that's what his whole deal is.
I can never remember which one's Skolder, which one's Moldy.
Those are
I
not their names.
I I mixed up their names. It's Molder and
Skolder
Scully
and
is
Moldy. Skolder and Moldy.
Skolder and Molly.
Skolder and Moldy.
Uh,
No,
anyway,
no, tell me what their names are for real.
Mulder and Scully.
There you go. You got there eventually.
I Anyway, the last thing I wrote down was JFK Reloaded, which is a first-person shooter video game where you play as Lee Harvey Oswald and are tasked to perfectly recreate the three shots he took at JFK. The closer to real life, the more
GFK. George
JFK.
F. Kennedy.
The closer to real life, the more points you get. I think it maxes out at 1,000 points.
Oh, what platforms was that released on?
I think it was like PlayStation 3 or something. No, it's probably just PC. JFK Reloaded, 2004 video game. Yeah, just Windows.
Fascinating. Bring it back for the Switch too.
Please. Uh,
JFK Reloaded, Reloaded.
JFK Reloaded on a double as like a launch title for the Switch 2.
Exactly.
You use the mouse
Uh,
controls in some way. I don't know. I think you got it.
I'm not a game designer. Someone else can figure it out.
No, you personally, Gordon, have to do it.
Shit. I don't know how.
You can learn. I believe in you.
I'll figure it out.
I believe in you more than I believed in anyone else right now.
Thank you. I believe you. I don't know.
You
Um,
believe in me believing in you.
exactly. I no. I don't know. I got nothing. This is not really a movie
It's
here.
not.
What does it say on this poster? Anything? No, not actually. Uh, yeah, there's really not much of anything to pull here to talk about.
Um, I I keep thinking like I had like one other thing I wanted to say, but I can't remember anything. It's gonna bug me, but
The
I just gotta live
Wikipedia
with it.
page cites a journalist who was there when Ruby shot Oswald, who apparently did not like this movie.
Wow, him and everybody else who saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully next week is and should be a lot more interesting
Yes,
with
we
ants.
next it happened at Lakewood
Ants.
Manor. It happened at
Ants.
Lakewood Manor.
It's called ants!
The post
Exclamation point.
the poster says ants with no exclamation point, and the title is It Happened at Lakewood Manor.
The title is also ants! Exclamation point. I'm not wrong. I'm not
What am I gonna do with you, Gordon?
record another podcast next week to talk about ants. Oh boy, 15% Rotten Tomatoes. We will see.
I think it should at least be more fun than this was.
I can't imagine it's not.
And
It's about ants.
what's the last one we got? In Broad Daylight.
Yes, so next 2 weeks of Brian Dennehy April. Brian April Dennehy.
Grateful Denny.
Ants and In Broad Daylight. So stay tuned the next 2 weeks for those. And then another specially curated month coming in May, which
Yep.
you will find out about soon enough. I will find out about soon enough. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that I'm surprised we were able to talk this long about this
Oh
movie,
yeah, like we got
even though
45
most of
minutes.
it was not really about this movie.
No, most of
Uh,
it was an article, a review of the movie that was poorly written, and then other movies that happen to have similar topics. Except not
which
really.
wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank
I,
you all.
I'm
Oh,
surprised that the most interesting movie we've had this month is the fucking Ultimate Legacy.
yeah, even though it was the worst one, certainly had more to talk about than the last two combined. So
hmm Anyway,
funny how that
this has been
happens.
the Ultimate Ruby and Oswald. Thank you for listening.
Force. Tom Clancy's The Ultimate Ruby and Oswald.
Ruby and Oswald, the Ultimate Ruby and Oswald Force.
Exactly. I like that one. Ruby and Oswald colon The Ultimate Ruby and Oswald Force. Exclamation point from
No,
ants
colon bullet point Ruby and Oswald Force.
with a capital Y. Okay,
Thanks
that's
for
it for this
coming.
episode. Thank you for listening.
Bye.